Good evening. Welcome to the meeting of the Skokie Village Board for Monday, August the 16th, 2021. I'm going to have a short preface before we get into the Pledge of Allegiance. With Skokie and the entire state of Illinois now in Phase 5 of the Restore Illinois plan in the lifting of restrictions on in-person gatherings, the Skokie Village Board meetings are in person in the council chambers at Skokie Village Hall. Meetings begin at 8 p.m. and will continue to be broadcast live on the village's YouTube channel, as well as on Skokie Vision cable television channels 17, Comcast, and 25, which is RCN. Meetings are also rebroadcast on the cable channels in the weeks following each meeting, and the videos are archived on the village's YouTube channel. As of August 9, 2021, the transmission of COVID-19 has increased to a high level within Skokie. As such, until further notice, the Village of Skokie is requiring that all village employees, officials, and visitors wear masks while inside all village buildings. This requirement is consistent with guidance from the Centers for Disease Control and both the Illinois and Cook County Departments of Public Health. The Skokie Health and Human Services Department recommended that the village follow this guidance to protect staff, visitors, and our entire community. Public comments may still be submitted to publiccomments@skokie.org. Comments received prior to the meeting or during the meeting will be provided to the village board, but will not be read aloud. Public comments also can be mailed or hand-delivered to Skokie Village Hall, 5127 Oakton, Skokie 60077, attention Village Manager's Office, or can be placed in the exterior drop box on the west side of Skokie Village Hall. Each village board meeting agenda includes time for public comments, and individuals wishing to speak on an issue will be allocated 3 minutes to address the village board. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce our village clerk, Pramod Shah, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The meeting will come to order, and the clerk will please call the roll.
Trustee Sutker,
Here.
Trustee Robinson,
Here.
Trustee Kuhn,
Here.
Trustee Johnson,
Here.
Trustee Pure Slovin,
Here via Zoom.
Trustee Klein,
Here.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Did you call Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. Here, we have a quorum, excuse me. Next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda for this evening's meeting. A motion is in order. Trustee Klein?
Could I remove something?
Oh, yes.
Could I remove?
After we get the second.
My bad.
Trustee Sutker, okay, now.
Could I remove item D from the report of the village manager about the purchase of police patrol and administrative vehicles?
Okay, item D on the village manager's report is removed. Is there anything else anybody would like to have removed? If not, I'll call the roll, please.
Trustee Sutker,
Aye.
Trustee Robinson,
Aye.
Trustee Kuhn,
Aye.
Trustee Johnson,
Aye.
Trustee Pure Slovin,
Aye.
Trustee Klein,
Aye.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Aye, the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the swearing in of two groups of new firemen. First one, our village clerk will swear in a new fire captain. So, if the clerk will.
Your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, please.
Adam Pease,
Having been appointed to
having been appointed to
the office of fire captain
the office of fire captain
in the village of Skokie,
in the village of Skokie,
in the county of Cook,
in the county of Cook,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of Illinois, Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I faithfully discharge
and that I faithfully discharge
the duties of fire captain
the duties of fire captain
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Captain, congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate it.
Would you introduce your family and friends for us?
Of course, I have my in-laws here, my father-in-law Batavi, my mother-in-law Revathi, my oldest son, his name is Jackson, you can see that too. My little guy is David, my daughter Maya, and then the most important person, my wife, Priya.
Welcome.
Appreciate it.
And we have two fire lieutenants who will be sworn in by Commissioner Bruce Rottner. Commissioner?
Trustees are probably going, oh, no, not him again. Good evening. I'd like to thank Mayor Van Dusen and the village board members for allowing me the honor of representing the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commission and our chairman, Will Evans. I'd also like to thank the families and friends of our new lieutenants who have joined us here this evening for sharing your husband or your father or your son or your brother, your cousin or your friend with the village of Skokie. It's your support tonight and throughout their careers that will have an extraordinary impact on the success we know they will continue to achieve throughout their careers. They are part of a nationally recognized and accredited fire department currently under the leadership, the outstanding leadership, I should say, of Fire Chief Jeffrey Hoflick. On March 16th, 2001, I had the honor of being promoted to Lieutenant of Police for the Chicago Police Department, and it was a day that I never forgot. I forgot my wife's birthday last year, but I didn't forget this day. And I hope that both of you will always remember this day as well. So let me end my brief personal comments with just a short quote. True heroism is remarkably sober and very undramatic. It is not the urge to surpass all others at whatever cost, but the urge to serve all others at whatever cost. And with that, I would first ask, and they give me a little paperwork here to do, so. Joseph Price. Joe? I was going to mess up your name, but your mother and I, as it turned out, worked in Rogers Park District for a number of years, so she clued me in. And the village made it very easy, so you can follow along if you wish, or just listen to me. Raise your right hand, please. I state your name.
I, Joseph Price,
Do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
the state of Illinois,
State of Illinois,
the ordinances of the village of Skokie,
the ordinances of the Village of Skokie,
and the rules and regulations
and the rules and regulations
of the fire department
of the Fire Department
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commissioners,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commissioners,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of a fire lieutenant to the best of my ability.
of a fire lieutenant to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Lieutenant. I'm gonna give you this, then I'm gonna give you this. To sign here and date. Great. Thanks so much. Congratulations again.
Okay, and Lieutenant,
Yes,
congratulations.
thank you.
Would you introduce your family and friends?
Sure. My sister Audrey and my brother Ted are here. My mother Catherine, and of course my lovely wife Beatrice.
Next, we have Matthew Keener. Matthew, come on up here. How you doing, kid? Okay. Matthew, if you will, raise your right hand, please. I state your name.
I, Matthew Kaner,
Do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
the state of Illinois,
the state of Illinois,
the ordinances of the village of Skokie,
the ordinances of the Village of Skokie,
and the rules and regulations
and the rules and regulations
of the fire department
of the Fire Department
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commissioners,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commissioners,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of a fire lieutenant to the best of my ability.
of a fire lieutenant to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Lieutenant. And if you just sign this and date it, and give that to me. Thank you. Congratulations again.
Lieutenant, guess what? Would you introduce your family and friends?
I would, thank you. I'll start with my father here, Joseph, retired Chicago firefighter. Sitting on his left is my niece Alyssa. To his right is my mother Lynn. To her right is my sister Elizabeth. To her right is my other niece Riley. Coming this way, my sister's boyfriend Brendan, my sister Emily, my brother-in-law Albert, my sister Erica, my beautiful wife April, and she brought with us our future baby inside.
Congratulations, kid.
Well, I needn't tell all of you what a great department it is that you're already a part of. We want to congratulate you on your promotions. You're part of a wonderful department that we're all very proud of. We never cease to talk about it. All of the accrediting agencies have recognized the hard work that you've put in. But I think what more than anything, it's the recognition of the residents of the village of Skokie. Every 3 years, we do a survey. It's scientifically done, it's independently done, but the survey tells us what do our residents think of our department, the job that's being done, where can we improve, where are we doing a good job already? And the police department and the fire department both, our brave first responders, always come in the 90th percentile plus. And I think it's that recognition that is most important. So congratulations this evening. Thank you for your service to the village of Skokie, and we look forward to future gatherings like this one. Why don't we take a short break so you can adjourn and your family and friends can congratulate you. So we'll reassemble in about 5 minutes or so. So let's take a short break.
one thing, my son had to go to interview at daycare. So we had, because we're on the emergency list, so we have to go.
No, that's interesting that you're in.
Oh, yeah, this is their care, I found that interesting.
Anything you find interesting?
Yeah, but it sounds like, you know, a light on Fargo and, sounds like it's gonna be sounds like we have to be. The way this thing is described, that will be the only traffic. You can't expect them to do everything.
It seemed like that. I was wondering if that was normal.
Yeah, you know, certain things like that, and like, you know, we have landscaping and everything, they got time to do it. Because all the initial money goes into
The village board meeting will resume. Report of our village manager, John Lockerbie.
Thank you, Mayor Van Duzen, and good evening, everyone. Item A is regarding a COVID-19 update. Our Director of Health and Human Services, Mike Charlie, is with us this evening to provide the most up-to-date information.
We good, Nick? Good evening, Mayor Van Dusen and the Village Board of Trustees. My name is Mike Charlie, and I'm the Public Health Director for the Village of Skokie. On the agenda tonight, I'd first like to go over the COVID-19, what's new since the last time we met 2 weeks ago. I will be going over Skokie COVID-19 community transmission data and case data, and I'll provide some updates on the vaccine that I'm aware of. So what's new? So throughout the state and really throughout the country, COVID-19 community transmission is high. What the data that I'm showing you now is I'm showing you Skokie scrub data and state epi data. And the reason I'm showing that to everybody is that we get reports from the state periodically to provide to us different data sets. And the data is like pre-scrubbing. It's like fresh data. So what we do then within the department is, like, oftentimes we get cases transferred to us that are really supposed to be assigned to Cook County, and we have to clean them up and then retransfer them out. So according to our data, our current COVID-19 community transmission rate is 111 cases per 100,000. But just for the sake of keeping things simple, I'm going to use the state epi data on the following slides just to compare Skokie to other communities that also have state certified health departments. I'm also going to talk about the booster dose, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about Vax Verify, the state's new immunization portal. So like I said, I'm using the state data of 127.4 to compare it to some of the other state health departments. Evanston, Cook County, Oak Park, Lake County, DuPage County, King County. Everybody, if you look at the bottom here, everybody's within what's considered a high transmission rate. One of the things that's affected by this is the CDC's recommendation for internal masking. And that anytime there's substantial and/or high transmission rate, whether you're vaccinated or not, they recommend that people mask indoors. And that's one of the reasons why the village has decided to require masking inside village buildings. This is a map from July 13th. I just wanted to show everybody how quickly the whole country has gone from really a low, moderate areas of substantial and high transmission to almost the entire country being within what's considered a high transmission rate. It's really developed pretty quickly, and we've seen a significant increase in cases, primarily because of the Delta variant and how quickly it spreads. This is a very busy slide, probably not what you want to put on a PowerPoint presentation unless people really have an opportunity to really delve deep into it. But if you look at this, on the left-hand column, this is a week's worth of data everywhere from April 12th through the 15th, and how many confirmed cases Skokie has had, how many total tests, the positivity rate, the average cases per day, like a 7-day rolling average. And on the right, you can see how we went from a high community transmission to a moderate community transmission to a substantial community transmission. Now we're back up in the high. So we sort of have hit that valley, and then, like the rest of the country, we've seen our transmission rates increase recently. This sort of is a chart that just shows by week the number of confirmed cases in Skokie, and then the transmission rate. They run parallel to each other. And as you can see, back around the end of June, we had our lowest case count. And again, if I took this chart and put it on top of the rest of the state of Illinois, or the city of Chicago, or the county of Cook, or DuPage, or Lake, any of the counties, we'd see a similar thing. So just to provide a booster dose update. So everyone keeps, I don't know how many phone calls we've gotten from people saying, when can I get my booster dose? So here's what I know at this point. We know at this point. August 12th, the FDA essentially modified the emergency use authorizations for Moderna and Pfizer and said that for those individuals that had an organ transplant or had a similar condition, or a condition that is considered to be an equivalent level as an organ donor transplant, qualify for a booster dose or a third dose. These are the individuals where, when they have tested them for antibodies, it shows that their immune systems and because of how vulnerable they are, that this extra dose really can help them in preventing the disease. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Advisory Committee, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices met last Friday. What happens is the FDA modifies the EUA, they give it to the CDC group then reviews it, and then approves it, and provides the recommendations to the head of the CDC, and then the head of the CDC then, with those recommendations, has to give final approval, and then what they do is they post it in what's called the MMWR. Once they do that, it's official. I have not seen that document. So until he approves it, and until the state of Illinois provides us guidance, I don't know exactly how we're going to handle the booster shot locally. I do know that we'll be prepared. I do know that this guidance that we're going to get is tell us things like, who are those people who are equivalent in immunocompromised as an organ donor transplant? We don't have that information yet, but once we do, we'll be able to screen people, we'll be able to walk through the process and get those doses out to those people who want that third dose. So this is some COVID-19 data, 6,514 COVID cases since the onset of this pandemic, 137 deaths. Our positivity rate has gone up recently at 2.91%. In Cook County, I always provide Cook counties. Maybe I'll start providing Chicago's and Lake County next time just as a comparison, but they're about 4.9% positivity rate. This is just Skokie's chart that shows the daily case count in blue, the blue bars, and then the 7-day moving average. As you can see, in the end of June, towards the beginning of July, we were pretty low in regards to the number of cases, but we've steadily increased. I'm hoping we'll start to plateau and maybe even decrease. I've heard, if anyone's bored, go to the CDC modeling page and look. There's about 30 different organizations that have modeled the disease. Some of them say that it's going to be a month or two, and then we're going to see a decrease in cases. Others have said it's going to continue to increase. In general, there's a slight upward trend, but there is a possibility, based upon like the University of Washington's modeling, that it'll be another month or so, and then we'll start to see a decrease in cases. So let's talk about breakthrough case data. So this is data from January 1st through August 15th. We've only had one person, one individual, that's been a breakthrough case. And I think if I went back a slide, I think I missed this one. So we've had 2,205 cases since January 1st. We've had 140 breakthrough cases. That represents about 6.3 of the total cases since the beginning of January. We've had 2,065 cases with people who are unvaccinated. Breakthrough cases have increased recently. We're about 30% of the cases since June 7th have been breakthrough cases. In regards to which vaccines are associated here in Skokie, 71% of the cases have been Pfizer, 29% Moderna, and 7% Janssen. So this is a small amount of data, and I scoured the the CDC webpage and tried to find similar data for the nation or for the state. And I even had one of my nurses try to find it at about 4 o'clock today, and we could not find any data. But at least in Skokie, it appears that the Moderna vaccine is faring pretty well, or faring better at least against the Delta variant. This is really interesting information, and this is one of those things where I know a lot of people will say vaccines don't work, why get vaccinated? But this is simply scientific data. I mean, I can't make this stuff up. We just look at the data and we put it on a piece of paper, right? And we evaluate it and we use it to inform our decision making. But we've only had one breakthrough case be hospitalized since January 1st. We've had 133 unvaccinated individuals be hospitalized. We've had 0 breakthrough deaths. We've had 30 unvaccinated cases die. The average age of breakthrough cases is 47. And in regards to gender, we've had 78 females and 57 males. Now, I think there was a question regarding other like comorbidities or other maybe other illnesses individuals had that were breakthrough cases that that may have been hospitalized, and if the breakthrough cases had any other conditions which may have made it so they didn't have as many antibodies. That's something I'm going to need a couple more days to work on before I present it. I can certainly present it to John Lockerbie, and he can present it to the board at a later date. Some vaccine updates. So vaccine is available all over the place. Vaccines.gov, the health department's administering doses. There's a whole list of facilities here locally that people can go and get vaccinated. I will say with Cook County, I can't remember if I mentioned this last time, but they do have a new program where you can find a phone number on their webpage and they'll pick anyone up in suburban Cook County and give them a free ride directly to one of their vaccination sites. It's an amazing program. You know, anybody who may have transportation issues at this point and still hasn't gotten the vaccine, strongly encourage people to take advantage of that and or come right here to Village Hall or one of these locations. I will say this Sunday, St. Peter and Lambert Parish is having a vaccination clinic from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's in coordination with the Illinois Department of Public Health. In addition, at the Backlot Bash, we're currently, it's not 100% certain, I just had to make that abundantly clear, but we are working with IDPH to come out both Saturday and Sunday and set up tents at the Backlot Bash and actually offer vaccines for individuals. So hopefully people take advantage of that. And then the under 12 update. So the last I heard was that around September, maybe October, that that Pfizer would possibly get an EUA or Moderna to allow for us to vaccinate under the age of 12. But the state doesn't have any other updates for me at that point, and they haven't had any updates from the Centers for Disease Control either. Vax Verify. So this is a new online system that the state pushed out over the last 2 weeks, where anybody over the age of 18 or 18 and over in the state can register for free to get information on their vaccine, the vaccines that have been administered to them. On the next page, I'll show everyone what mine looks like without all my personally identifiable information. But it's pretty simple. It's sort of, they use like the Equifax system where you have to answer all these strange questions like what's the loan amount on your 2020 Honda Pilot I just bought, and who's the loan agency, and what's the name of your, there's all sorts of really deep, like really personal questions you have to answer for security. But once you get in there, you can log in, and it's kind of small, I know, but that's very small maybe. But essentially what this shows you is, it provides my name, my address, any vaccines I may have gotten, so you can see my 2 COVID vaccines that I received from the Skokie Health Department. And this is something you can use for travel or to go into a concert, or if someone wants you to prove that you've been vaccinated, you can do this instead of having to try to track down your vaccination card. Vaccinations. So we are at a 79.4% fully vaccinated rate, which is really high. compared to the state of Illinois at 61%. I have a couple, this slide's another very busy slide, and I'm going to try to explain this to the board the best I can without losing you. So if you look in the upper right-hand corner, we have three different zip codes, right? 60203, 60076, and 60077. 60203 has a one-dose vaccination rate of 82%. Remember, this is for the entire population. This isn't even for eligible individuals. And a 76.91% fully vaccinated. Now, as you see, there is a rank. 60203 ranks 23rd in the state out of 1,360 zip codes. If you look, if you remove all the zip codes where there are less than 3,000 vaccinations, and the reason I do that is a lot of the top like 10 zip codes have like a population of like 40, right? So if you eliminate those, 60203 is 4th in the state, 60076 is 9th in the state, and 60077 is 55th in the state. Now, I look at that data and I applaud Skokie residents for coming to get their vaccine, right? I think we've done a wonderful job. At the same time, I look at 60077 and I think to myself, what can we do better? How can we get into that? How can we convince those individuals which have vaccine hesitancy or refusal to come get it? So there are a couple things we've, working with the schools. We're gonna relocate our street signs. We've reached out to the business community over the last week. We sent an email to the faith-based community on Friday. So we're trying to take steps to encourage that. Now, the second chart is going to be really confusing, but I hope you guys, it's for me and I have to explain it, but just for the heck of it, I thought one of the prevailing thoughts, and it's scientifically evident, is those areas which are more affluent are more likely to have less vulnerabilities or get better access to health care. And as you can see, I bracketed the zip codes by hundreds. So if you look at that top line, the average vaccination rate of the top 100 top earning zip codes was 67%. And if you go down the list, you can see it decrease where the bottom two, I broke it down. Those are the bottom two, 38 and 37%. But if you look at this, the village of Skokie, 60203 was 32nd in median income, but had a much higher, on average, rate of vaccination than the average of the top 100. So if you had time to really look at this, I guess what I'm trying to say is that median income typically dictates access to health care and how well you're doing health-wise. It really just does when you look at it. And we're doing much better on average for every zip code than the other areas of the state. For example, 60077, the average vaccination rate within that income level is 45%. We're at 68.4%, so we're much higher than that. So that's a long way of saying I think we've done a really good job not only getting the vaccine out, but I think, again, I can't thank the residents enough for everything they've done. This is just the number of vaccines. We're still about 28,000 doses we've administered here at the village, and we have a lot of different medical providers reach out to us for a vaccine, and we distribute it to them. And that's for tonight. That's my presentation, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Members of the board, any questions? Guess not. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate the support.
Item B is regarding the Professional Facilities Management, commonly known as PFM, Facilities Management Agreement and Programming Agreement with the North Shore Center for the Performing Arts. Professional Facilities Management has provided facility management services since 1996 and main stage programming services at the North Shore Center for the Performing Arts since 2010. PFM oversees all building operations and provides staffing for management, box office sales, marketing, budgeting, tenant management, technical operations, and all aspects of operating this world-class facility. Due to the uncertainties of the entertainment venue market due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the parties have agreed that an initial one-year term for a new facility management agreement with 3 one-year extension options is prudent to provide maximum flexibility required during this unprecedented time. Staff also recommends that a new programming services agreement be approved to mirror the same term as the facility management agreement. Having the agreements on identical terms also gives the village maximum flexibility relative to its obligations to the 2 center tenants, Music Theater Works and Northlight Theater. The cost of programming services will be similar to the previous agreements, with PFM assuming a measure of financial risk. Ann Tennis, our Director of Marketing and Communications, is here with us this evening and is the lead staff person with the facility. Michael Pauken is the General Manager. He's also here with us this evening, sitting in the audience. I concur with staff's recommendation, excuse me. I concur with staff's recommendation and respectfully request mayor and board approval of the resolutions authorizing the facility management and the programming services agreements.
A motion is in order. Trustee Johnson, seconded by Trustee Klein. Are there any comments or questions? If not, call the roll, please.
Trustee Sutker,
Aye.
Trustee Robinson,
Aye.
Trustee Kuhn,
Aye.
Trustee Johnson,
Aye.
Trustee Pure Slovin,
Aye.
Trustee Klein,
Aye.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Aye, the motion passes.
Item C was approved as part of the consent agenda this evening. Item D is regarding a fiscal year 2022 purchase of police patrol and administrative vehicles from Curry Motors Incorporated, located in Frankfort, Illinois, for the amount of $171,318. The fiscal year 2022 capital improvement program budget contains funding for the replacement of 4 all-wheel drive Ford utility police interceptors and 1 Ford pickup truck. The new vehicles will replace the existing police department vehicles that have between 85,000 and 105,000 miles of usage, which is consistent with the village vehicles replacement and maintenance policy. The vehicles being replaced will be sold at the Northwest Municipal Conference auction. I concur with staff's recommendation. Max Lankert, our Director of Public Works, is responsible for our fleet and respectfully requests mayor and board approval of a contract in the amount of $171,318 to be awarded to Curry Motors, the lowest responsive and responsible bidder.
A motion is in order. Trustee Sucker, seconded by Trustee Klein. Trustee Johnson.
Thank you for being here, Max. The reason I asked for this to be removed from the consent agenda is because I wanted to ask, just do kind of a check-in on our sustainability goals related to lowering emissions in the village's fleet. Are there going to be any more vehicle purchases for the village's fleet this year in 2021?
Yes, there will be. I expect that there will be one at the next board meeting, which will be replacement for one of the Village Hall pool vehicles, which is assigned to the building department. So it will be a hybrid vehicle. That write-up comes up to Village Hall this week, so unless there's something that's unduly onerous on the village board's next agenda, it should go on that agenda, so that will be a hybrid. We have 2 more administrative vehicles that are also in the FY22 budget, which both of which should be hybrid vehicles as well. By the time this current purchasing cycle ends, I would expect by the end of this current fiscal year, we'll probably have 10 either hybrid or all-electric vehicles in the village's fleet. Looking forward to next year, you know, the CIP, automotive CIP for next year is still tentative, of course, as the trustee knows. That's the budget for next year is always tentative, of course, until we go through the process and it's reviewed and approved by the village board. But there are probably, as we see it right now, as many as 4 to 5 opportunities in next year's automotive CIP budget for alternate fuel. I still call it alternate fuel vehicles. Hopefully hydrogen vehicles will come along here in the near future, hydrogen fuel cell for either hybrid or electric applications in next year's budget. So within, I think, the next couple of years, but as well as by how we end up this year, I think we'll make good progress in achieving further emission reduction in the village fleet.
So am I correct that during our sustainability plan, we've gone from 3 village hybrid and electric vehicles to 10?
We will by the end of this year, yes. With the purchase that will be coming up to the board at the next meeting, hopefully, that will put us at 7. We anticipate 2 more. And then when one of those vehicles goes into service, we will take one vehicle, which is an existing hybrid, and we will put it into a reserve mode in our operations for a couple of years. So we will keep one of the existing hybrids in our operation. So that'll bring us to 10 in the fleet by the end of this fiscal year.
In this time period, has there been any change in our police fleet with regards to lowering emissions?
Not by the end of this fiscal year. You know, the police department will be looking towards what they can do to look for green opportunities within their administrative and some of their other operations of their fleet that go beyond patrol. The way police runs patrol right now, they tend to cycle those cars shift to shift to shift, so those cars are on 24-hour operation. So certainly an all-electric application for patrol operations would be problematic, not impossible, but it would change the nature of how that would be managed. But nonetheless, there are some hybrid squad car types that are now on the market. Ford introduced a hybrid squad vehicle in beginning, I think, in the 2020 model year. So that's been on the market for 2 years. So we'll evaluate that in the police operation and see if that's something that will be useful in the operation, and then that's a possibility for us.
For patrol and administrative vehicles, are there lower emissions alternatives? If not electric, you know, kind of net zero emission alternatives, are there lower emission alternatives?
Were the hybrid vehicle a solid performing option, you know, there would be a mileage gain on that of about, rough figures, maybe 4 miles per gallon, something of that nature. There's a large state located north and east of us. It's Michigan. Michigan runs some comparative data on squad cars by manufacturer every year. And if I'm recalling, don't necessarily quote me on this, but I glanced at their fuel mileage results as they looked at squad car comparisons. And I think the hybrid's mileage was about 4 miles per gallon better than an array of Dodge Chargers and other
Not significantly.
Ford, internal combustion engines. So,
Okay. Thank you, Max. That's all the questions for me.
thank you.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Sutker,
Aye.
Trustee Robinson,
Aye.
Trustee Kuhn,
Aye.
Trustee Johnson,
Aye.
Trustee Pure Slovin,
Aye.
Trustee Klein,
Aye.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Aye, the motion passes.
Item E was already approved under tonight's consent agenda, and that completes my report this evening.
Thank you. The next item is report of our Corporation Counsel, Michael Lorge.
Thank you, Mayor, trustees. Good evening, everyone. Items A and B on my report for tonight were adopted as part of the consent agenda at the beginning of this evening's meeting, and that would then conclude my report for this evening, and I relinquish the microphone.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 2 reports from our Plan Commission. The reports will be presented by Commissioner Jeff Berman with the assistance of Matt Brandmeier.
Thank you, Mayor, trustees.
Good evening.
I appreciate you having me tonight. I'm filling in for Paul Luke, who was called out of town unexpectedly, from what I understand. And so to give my report, the first case would be 2021-14P, special use permit. You want me to? During the June 3rd, 2021 meeting, the Plan Commission heard a request for a special use permit for truck and freight transportation services in an M1 office assembly zoning district. The proposed facility will be using independent flex drivers who are using their own vehicles, not Amazon employees, to deliver packages and products within a 4-hour span inside a certain radius and within a 12-hour delivery window. The Plan Commission recommended conditions include next steps and a potential required remedy to install a traffic light if one is warranted. The discussion for the commission included the hours of operation of the facility, which is 24 hours, with peak periods early morning and at night, the potential conflicts with neighboring businesses to utilize their own docks. Amazon responded that Amazon is responsible for policing drivers, and drivers need to be respectful to the neighbors. There will not be any semi-trailer staging on Linder, and if there is a problem, neighbors are encouraged to contact the building security guard or call the facility. No additional relief was discovered during the review of the case. Additional analysis and the discussion can be found in the staff reports, which I believe you all have, and the meeting minutes as well. The Plan Commission recommended the case move forward and was voted on or approved unanimously with one person absent. That concludes my report on 2021-14P.
A motion on special use permit, Plan Commission case 2021-14P is in order. Trustee Sucker, seconded by Trustee Klein. Comments or questions of the members of the board? Trustee Johnson.
Can we have comments from the floor?
You will. We'll do the village board first, then members of the audience.
I have a number of questions, but would anyone like to go first? My colleagues? I don't want to take the mics. Could I ask a few questions of you, Matt Brandmeier?
Yes.
I'm really concerned about the greenhouse gas emissions from the site. I agree with staff that the biggest concern is traffic. I'm kind of looking specifically at mitigation for the emissions. In our current staff review process for sites like this, are we factoring in greenhouse gas emissions from sites that go through the village staff process?
That hasn't been a review standard that we've adopted, no.
Okay. One of the considerations is always whether these sites are in agreement with our comprehensive plan. Does our comprehensive plan include goals for climate action?
They do not specifically, nothing that we've adopted or really implemented.
Okay. Do any of our sustainability plan goals make their way into consideration for these sites?
No, they don't. They kind of live in separate areas. They're kind of siloed that way. But I think it's a result of kind of the legal framework of zoning requirements.
And I wanted to know if you could just explain to us staff's analysis for the environmental consideration in the report. Staff's answer is not really a yes or no. It's a little more ambiguous.
Yeah.
The consideration is that the request is considered and to the degree possible address the adverse effects on the natural environment. And staff's comment is not really yes or no. Staff says that the use by its very nature increases vehicle miles traveled and may therefore affect air quality, but denial of a special use at this location also does not mitigate the impact. Could you explain that for us?
Well, I think that was in response to a question about, how we were factoring that in. And so, given that we don't have a standard of review or something that, in our comprehensive plan or in our zoning ordinance that we could really put into action, for a petition like this, it's not something that we really looked at as far as the negative impacts. But I think the point there was, well, if this business doesn't go in this location, it's likely to go the next town over and would have the same impacts without our review.
Right.
Yeah.
So denial could theoretically make the emissions worse. I mean, or they could move somewhere else. At the very least, they could move to a neighboring community.
Right, then we have a building that another business would come in and likely have the same impact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there a representative from Amazon present that we can?
I have a, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
I have some questions as well, but you can continue.
Why don't you ask a couple more?
Want to go to the Amazon, you got more to ask me?
I have no questions for more questions. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Trustee, did you have a question of Matt?
but you can continue.
Does anyone have any questions for Matt? Is it? Okay. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it.
How you doing?
Hi. Are you Nick?
No, I'm Kyle DiGiulio.
Kyle. My bad. Thank you. Trustee Kuhn, do you want to start?
Sure. Thank you for being here this evening. So as I'm looking at the report, I'm looking at, I want to acknowledge it, and what Amazon has done as far as the global pledge and the climate pledge to be net carbon zero by 2040, and also the advancements as far as powering operations to 100% renewable energy by 2025. What I'd like to understand is what are the specific actions that are local to this community that these goals are being measured by? Do you have a current baseline? And then, again, mainly I just want to clarify what the specific actions are that would be specific to this facility.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's really two things we could point to in Skokie. So at this facility, the topic came up around reducing vehicle miles traveled. So I think some context around that is what this building actually does for Amazon. So today, prior to this building opening, if a customer in Skokie ordered something from Amazon, that item would need to come from a large fulfillment center somewhere further away. You may have driven by one in Wisconsin. If you've been out towards Joliet, off the 1 million square foot buildings, that item would leave that facility, get in a truck. That truck would have to come to Skokie to our last mile facility and deliver it in a van. Now, with this facility, the goal is to really consolidate that first mile and last mile piece so that it's items that are there that people typically order in this area, so that that item doesn't need to travel as far to get to that customer. So that is a reduction in the overall vehicle miles traveled, and it's a vehicle miles traveled in a passenger vehicle versus a truck. The greater impact in Skokie for our sustainability goals will be out of our last mile delivery station, which we opened, I believe, in 2019, and that's through the electrification of that fleet. So we purchased 100,000 Rivian electric vehicles. The plan is to have 10,000 of those on the road by the end of 2022, and all 100,000 by 2030. So that's the plan there. They're currently gas-powered vehicles. We have some non-Rivian electric vehicles on the roads in Illinois today, but we're not 100% there yet.
I guess the concern also, I understand the reduction in miles overall, but this particular facility is also a flex facility, which means that people are using their personal vehicles to make these deliveries as well. How does that factor in as part of the overall goal?
Yeah, for sure. Well, at this site specifically, so we have really strict anti-idling policies. So that's for the line haul trucks that are bringing in the inventory that will live in the building, as well as the flex drivers who bring their personal vehicles onto the site. So when a flex driver brings their personal vehicle on the site, they enter a parking space, they don't queue up and wait, they park their car, turn their car off, leave their car to get the items and bring them in. So that is no different than you'd see maybe in a grocery store parking lot where you have cars waiting, idling for their customer pickup, for example. Same for the trucks. When trucks are bringing inventory in, they back up to the building. If you look at here in that pink shaded area, as soon as trucks back up, they're turned off. They're not running as they're being unloaded.
But there will be increased traffic on the road during those peak hours.
There is increased traffic from this, and we conducted a traffic study for that.
Okay.
The traffic that you look at a building like this, I mean, it's over 3,000 trips, and that's the busiest day of the year. We provide our peak numbers, so that's the time between basically Black Friday and Christmas. And a typical, so the traffic study itself suggested, I think, is it 15, trucks per day? I just called the station today, they have 4. So that's low because it's still, kind of ramping up to that time, but it's the amount of trucks that you'd see at a facility like this compared to a traditional warehouse, a traditional grocery store grocery store vehicle traffic just every day is not too different than you'd see from something like this.
can you also talk about operations within the facility itself? Will there be any investments in solar energy?
There's no plans currently for solar at this building. We don't own the building. We're leasing it. I don't know if it's been engineered to allow for solar on the roof. The biggest impact and how we achieve those sustainability goals that you mentioned are actually through off-site solar projects. So just to give you an example, we have a facility in Romeoville. I think it's a 600,000 square foot building, so about 5 times the size of this one. There's solar panels on the roof. That generates about 2.9 megawatts of power. Now we're doing an off-site solar farm in DeKalb, Illinois, much larger scale, and that's 90 megawatts. So that's the greatest impact is through off-site solar, not necessarily on-site.
Okay.
Certainly, when Amazon's building the building ourselves, we'll engineer it for future solar. We'll engineer the parking lot with conduit for electric vehicles. But this particular building doesn't have any plans at this point for solar on the roof.
Okay. Trustee Klein?
Yes, sir. Can you define this flex driver?
For sure. So it's very similar to like an Uber driver or a Lyft driver. So individuals who can download the Flex app. Once you download the Flex app and you're verified with background check and vehicle information, that individual schedules a time, basically where they can be free during the day. So it's typically a 2 to 4 hour window. That individual picks their time. They're given a time to show up at this facility. Like I mentioned before, they bring their personal vehicle onto the site, park it, load up their car. If it's a Prius, probably a few packages. If it's a larger car, more packages, and also they're for a larger period of time. And then they deliver it, and they make about $22 an hour doing so.
Are you calling them independent contractors, or are they employees?
They're not employees of Amazon.
So they're independent contractors?
Correct.
Then whose insurance covers it?
Their own insurance.
So you make sure?
They're all insured, yes.
Yeah, okay.
They're part of the
How often do you check the insurance?
I wouldn't be able to answer that, but I can get back to you. I don't know that off the top.
No, I'd just like to make sure that
Yeah.
anybody who's driving on our roads is fully
For
insured.
sure, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Sucker?
How many jobs would you say this facility for those flex drivers is gonna
For
produce?
flex drivers per day, you're looking at, probably about 1,000 flex drivers delivering packages out of here a day. For Amazon employees, so employees working inside the building that are direct employees of Amazon, not contractors, the number today is we have 136 full-time employees. So full-time is a minimum of $15 an hour, full benefits, the same benefits that I receive. There's also 179 part-time employees working at this, so also minimum of $15 an hour, benefits packages as well. So the mix of full-time and part-time is pretty standard at our facilities, which allows flexibility in the hours that people can work.
Because I think one of the benefits of these flex drivers is they get to maybe have a second job if they need the money. If they lost their job, they get to pick their hours if they have to be parents and help with e-learning or whatever.
For sure.
So I think that's a benefit of
It's great. Yeah, we've seen, you're not terribly far from some universities and obviously some large employers, but in university towns where we have buildings like this, a lot of students are working at those jobs and oftentimes they're not in school too.
And then I just have one more question. What is the difference, what are the differences between the other site and this site? Like what differentiates them?
So the other site is what we call a delivery station. So there is nothing warehoused in that facility. There is no point of sale at that facility. Items are brought in already ordered from customers in packages, and then they're delivered via the Amazon vans. This facility is a combination of a warehouse and a delivery station, the same location, and sales tax revenue is generated out of this building.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Am I correct with that in the traffic report it says there's 3,711 average car trips a day?
During the peak season, yes.
During peak?
Yes.
What is the actual peak number, if that's the average?
That's the peak number that you'll
That's the
see.
peak number. So it's not an average?
That is the average daily trips during peak season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So non-peak season would be
Less than that, fewer than that.
15 of our
I'd be making it up, but significantly less.
Trustee Klein here was asking about the designation of these workers as contractors. Are these jobs locally sourced?
We do hire as locally as we can. We want people that are driving for us to understand the communities that they're delivering in.
Okay.
This facility delivers to customers in basically an hour drive radius from here. So certainly, yeah, we try our best to recruit flex drivers locally, and definitely our own employees. We work to recruit them locally and work really closely in Cook County with like organizations like Skills for Chicagoland's Future, Cook County Workforce Partnership to fill jobs.
Am I correct that as independent contractors, they are not given any healthcare benefits through Amazon?
Not through Amazon, correct.
And am I correct that none of these delivery drivers are paid a living wage by Amazon?
The drivers make on average $22 an hour.
How many hours a week on average does the average flex driver work?
That really varies. It depends on the time of year, and the driver, like I said, can pick they can do very few hours, or they could work as many hours to be basically the equivalent of a full-time job.
And if I'm asked, how often do flex workers stay with Amazon?
I wouldn't be able to answer that, but I'd be happy to look into it.
Okay. To kind of go off Trustee Kuhn's questions. So am I correct that these drivers kind of bear the cost and the risk of transportation in their own vehicles?
I wouldn't necessarily phrase it that way. They're providing a valuable service to Amazon in support of our customers.
To use your words, you said that they leverage their own vehicles.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. You mentioned Amazon's local goals to transition a lot of its delivery fleet to electric and non-zero, and net zero emission vehicles.
Correct.
But am I correct that because this is all flex drivers, that there are no goals for a similar transition at this site?
At this point, because it's their vehicles, we don't control what type of vehicle they'd be driving. So
Okay.
At this point, we're working on the net carbon zero initiative for our controlled vehicles. But I can't say we won't get there at some point. I think we've proven that sustainability is a serious, real goal of ours, and we've always done everything to achieve that. But at this point, there's no plan for these flex drivers to be required to use electric vehicles, for example.
So Amazon's corporate sustainability goals do not include these contractors?
If we're net carbon zero, would this contribute to that?
Correct.
I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to confirm that.
Okay.
Were you asking about the 100,000 vehicles you mentioned before?
Right.
Is that what you meant?
So what are Amazon's plans to convert or to transition the flex fleet to lower emission vehicles?
At this point, I'm not the person to ask about that. I can speak specifically to the Amazon plans and our cars that we control, which are at the delivery station, but not at this facility. We are, for the truck traffic, we are looking at electrification of trucks that are coming in as well, but that's more of a longer-term goal. In the area around Chicago and the MSA, we're looking at natural gas fuel trucks, which is not totally green, but an improvement to diesel fuel trucks.
Final question. Trustee Kuhn asked about Amazon's commitment to 100% renewable energy by 2025. So am I correct that there are no site-specific sustainability goals for this site?
Well, there are improvements that we've made to the building through LED lighting, but that's, in the scale of how we're going to achieve that goal, relatively small, but we have made improvements to the building to make it more sustainable.
How does Amazon plan on reaching 100% renewable energy use by 2025 if we're not including this site?
I think we just have to think about where you can have that scale. So if I put solar panels on the roof of this building, for example, you'd generate less than a megawatt of power. Instead, we just purchased our plans to deliver a solar plant in DeKalb County, which is 90 megawatts in the next year. So you do it through large-scale off-site projects. That's how you achieve that.
So is there an off-site project linked to this site?
If we are purchasing electricity via somebody, either something that we create or something that ComEd produces, that's how you achieve that.
I think I'm good.
Thank you. Is there anybody from the audience who wishes to address the board and the Plan Commission? Yes, sir. If we may have your name, please.
Hi, my name is Ted Smuckler, S-M-U-K-L-E-R. I live at 8500 Lawndale in Skokie.
You don't have to give your address.
Okay.
But thank you. Thank you.
Just so you know, I'm a
Yeah,
resident.
That's a concern that some people have, but thank you.
I wanted to speak to a couple of things. One is the notion of flex drivers, that this is creating jobs, right? The gentleman from Amazon said that drivers make $22 an hour. I worked for Uber for some years, and Uber would say similar things, right? If that is before the cost of maintaining the vehicle, the costs of, of their share of the taxes that employers provide. My daughter just ordered a exercise bicycle from Amazon, I don't like to order from Amazon, but she's her own person. She ordered this exercise bicycle. If this was delivered from the station, some driver would be picking up a very heavy package and delivering it, and without workers' comp, without any protections for their health. My tax preparer told me when I was driving for Uber that I'd be better off being a greeter at Walmart in terms of, what I was making. I believe that these drivers would probably be making less than minimum wage if you count the deductions. So that, any business, they're calling this an independent business. It's not just the income that comes in. It's the it's the income that goes out that ends up telling you what the profit is. And this is not going to be a profitable thing for drivers. The other thing I'd like to say about this, it will increase emissions in Skokie. It has to. I don't like the fact that, I know you, Mr. Mayor, and members of the council are boosters of local businesses, as you should be, and boosters for local jobs. But, Amazon is not a local company and is not really concerned about what the village of Skokie wants besides getting this permit. They established operations before getting the permit, without permission. So, I believe this company would probably run all over the local government once it's granted the permit to operate. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Smuckler. Yes, sir. If you come to the microphone, give us your name, please.
All right. My name is Vikret Palavra, and I have two questions for you guys. First is about my fence.
We're taking this plan commission case only at this moment.
What's that?
Your question needs to pertain to the plan commission case.
I have a questions from village of people of Skokie.
You
Legit
can-
question about the fence, and I went
You-
over there.
we
After I
will-
talked to you, Mr. Mayor, after I talked to you, I went to village of Skokie and I
We-
talked to police.
We
okay?
will take that up under public
Why are you
comment.
stopping me? Let me tell, this is for
Under
all people
pub-
in Skokie. Don't stop me, please.
Yes,
My
yes.
First Amendment give me right to talk about the fence.
You've got a right to talk
What?
under public comment. Right
is public
now,
comment, so what?
Stop. Right now, we're taking up plan commission cases. When we're done with that, we will take up public comment.
later.
And then I will recognize you. Until then, please return to your
Means I will
seat.
come back again and talk about fence
Yes,
later, yes?
yes.
Okay, why don't you tell me that,
Yeah,
okay?
well-
Then I have another question for you about a report that our corona guy specialist.
No,
Again later.
we're taking plan commission cases
I don't know,
right
plan
now.
commission case, whatever,
Then,
but we
then
have a
have
questions,
a, have
okay?
a seat.
Okay.
We will be
Fine.
happy to have you speak.
All right.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Sure. If we may have your name, please.
My name is Shira Hammond,
Okay.
and I'm here with a couple other members of Go Green Skokie. we've heard a lot of commitments from the Village of Skokie to sustainability generally. There was a presentation back in February about the village's commitment and specifically to climate action. But we're not seeing climate goals factoring into development decisions. And Matt Brennemeyer's statement really confirmed that in this meeting, that in fact we have a sustainability plan, but we have a decision-making process that doesn't take sustainability into account at all. It is actually functionally not a part of the process. And so we're looking at projects like this Amazon project through a very limited lens that doesn't take into account the values that we have said as a village that we believe in and we have said we are committed to, but we're making decisions, very important decisions, that will have impacts for many years down the road through a lens that literally ignores the values we've said we're committed to. The Amazon development discussed tonight will clearly mean a lot of new traffic and a big increase in village carbon emissions. Amazon said the vehicle miles traveled will be reduced, but didn't actually even say that emissions would be reduced because they're going to be using a bunch of vehicles that are not particularly fuel efficient. And in any case, our decision-making process didn't consider all of these new emissions. The jobs that this is bringing, as was so eloquently stated by the gentleman prior to me, are not high-quality jobs. No one is going to move to Skokie for the opportunity to deliver packages as a gig worker for Amazon. There are a lot of reports out in the news about the intense time requirements in Amazon warehouses, no bathroom breaks, and I don't know exactly what the conditions will be for these workers, but again, these are not the jobs that people are going to move to Skokie for. These are not the jobs that our residents are going to talk about as making their lives work, as giving them everything they need in their lives. It isn't clear what the benefits of the facility will be for Skokie. As the gentleman mentioned as well, it's not a local business, and it's not clear that its incentives are aligned with the incentives of our village and of our residents. We really need projects like this to be going through environmental review. We need to be quantifying emissions impacts and reconciling those with our specific climate commitments. Those climate commitments need to be quantified. We're working on that right now. Our environmental commission should be involved. They're not consulted on any of these planning decisions. They have no voice in these decisions, which are the ones that are the most impactful things that Skokie is able to do. Should we proceed on a project like this, we need to use our leverage to have the business in question commit to emissions targets, to have them make substantive changes in their plans where those changes can have a real impact on environmental sustainability, on climate, on worker rights, on a high quality of life for our residents. Some things we've committed to in our sustainability plan. We said we would reduce, this is our 2016 plan, this is the last year of it. We would reduce the production and release of air pollutants and greenhouse gases in the village. We would reduce the use of gasoline and diesel fuels for transportation. We would reduce the dependence on automobiles. Clearly, this project is not doing any of those things. Skokie has signed on to the Greenest Region Compact. Skokie signed the mayor's National Climate Action Agenda. There's a new climate action plan out from the mayor's caucus now that is pushing even stronger goals. What does it mean that we've signed on to this sustainability plan? What does it mean that we've signed on to this compact? What does it mean that we've signed on to this climate action agenda? What is actually different in our decision-making process as a result of having made these commitments? Skokie needs to take real action on its climate commitments and to take a moral responsibility for its development decisions. We need to truly be a community that is committed to climate action, and that needs to be built into every part of our government, every part of our decision-making process, because if we care about our children and we care about our citizens, we need to be doing better with this.
Thank you, Ms. Hammond. Yes, sir. No, wait. This gentleman's been waiting. Why don't, if you don't mind, if you want to go over here when he's finished. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Louis Mercer, and I'm a Skokie resident. You know, sustainability has been kind of on my mind lately. My children both went to the Emily Oaks Nature Center summer camp hosted by the wonderful Skokie Park District this summer, and you know, we have a huge pile of very large sticks that they brought home for our dog to gnaw on. And one of the central themes of that camp for the kids, the programming is all about sustainability, right? They talk about it all the time. And it's really important to them, and they talk a lot about why are we recycling that, or why are we doing these things? And so, you know, we've been thinking about it a lot, and, you know, I packed the lunch with, you know, things that we can reuse and all of that, and we talk about that. And these are, you know, things that we talk about with kids, right? And things that we say are important. Your plan commission just came up here and told you they didn't even ask that question when it came to this project. What does sustainability have to do with this, right? Like, what is happening? That's unconscionable, right? At this point in our action towards, you know, environmental sustainability, it's unconscionable. And having to, you know, to have these conversations with my kids, who I hope have a great future, it's really frustrating to hear that, to sit here and listen to the Plan Commission tell me that. I wrote the Plan Commission in June, asking them just a very simple question: how are you going to take sustainability into this? And you heard the answer today. Everyone here heard the answer today, which is we didn't at all. So I think, you know, my charge is to the village board here. You know, regardless of I agree with all the things that were said about, you know, looking at this very specific site and thinking about all the different, you know, flex drivers and all of these things. These are incredibly important. But the village board here needs to ask themselves, why didn't we ask this question? Why didn't we even consider it to be important? And so I hope that tonight, this is your chance to actually take that into account, to actually think about these questions. And I'm glad they're being asked, and I'm glad some of the board members are doing that. Because your plan commission didn't have the charge to do that, right? I'm not blaming them. I'm saying that the plan commission, it's not in their modus operandi to do that, and that's a problem. So I hope that tonight you will. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mercer. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Jim Barnard. I live straight south of the library where Howard Street turns into Frontage Road on this northeast side of the expressway. I can come out my front door of my house and see this facility. I can also at times smell this facility. That means to me that there are environmental questions there that need to be taken care of. Also, there are high voltage power lines that run right along Howard Street on both sides of the expressway. They run right over the front of my property. The library now has a measuring device that can get relative field strengths from electric wires. I have borrowed that and measured the fields coming from the wires right along Howard Street in front of my house on several occasions. It keeps going up. It is going up now probably because many people are working at home and using the power there instead of in buildings where they used to. When they start using electric vehicles in this facility, if they are buying the power from some remote location, it has to get to this facility on those wires. There will be stronger fields coming out of those wires because of that too. That's also a form of pollution. We don't know what the effect of this electrical pollution is on people right now, but there are studies that are underway, and I'm very concerned about it. Also, as the number of people come in and out of this facility increases, the number of phone calls to and from different places is going to increase. I'm guessing that 5G will wind up putting a lot of locations right along here to handle that kind of traffic. It will also help the number of people driving by on the expressway. That's another form of pollution or radiation that's going to be coming directly into our residences. So I really am in favor of the Skokie people looking at these environmental effects and deciding what we should do, what we should look into before they happen. I understand this is evolving technology, but I don't really want to be the guinea pig. So I'm hoping we can do something. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barnett.
Hi, my name is Lori Simmons, and I am actually here to speak on behalf of the gig economy workers who, do these jobs. There's been a lot of talk about how these are, this job is a great opportunity, and that's true. It's a great opportunity for a large corporation to take advantage of people who maybe can't work at a regular 9-to-5 job, don't have the ability to keep themselves at a major corporation in the sense where they would have protections or any sort of fallback plan if something would happen to them while they were working. And as a longtime gig worker myself, I started in this industry because I lost my job. It's not a safe place to work. When something happens to you, there's no support from the people who are employing you. There's no support from state or federal organizations. In the state of Illinois, we actually do pay the unemployment claims of gig workers, but we are not reimbursed by the large corporations for doing that. This is something to consider. I've heard a lot of talk about sustainability. These are not sustainable jobs. These are jobs where people are leveraging the value of their vehicles and their lives to do these jobs, and are oftentimes being paid, less than, not even less than minimum wage, but maybe even potentially losing money on these trips. I mean, when you have a job where you can't accurately figure out what you're actually making per hour because your expenses are complicated and confusing to understand, and you also have to consider the fact that many of these workers are immigrants or people who maybe don't speak English as a first language, and that's the reason that they're working in this industry. I mean, you are looking at a large group of people who are being taken advantage of by corporations who are looking for a cheap source of labor with little to no responsibility for that source of labor. So I'm here to just, speak on behalf of these workers. I have a few workers here with me today in the audience who, are here to just, support that statement. And I just would appreciate thought being put into, do we want to continue allowing corporations to forward this business model, or do we want to support sustainable, actual jobs?
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could respond to some of the concern about the sustainability plan and our review in the process. I'd like to bring this up. So this actually applies to every building permit and that we review, and I wanted to show essentially what we've accomplished since the adoption of the sustainability plan. So when it comes to water management, we adopted the Illinois Plumbing Code, which requires low flow facilities. We're required to meet MWRD standards. We adopted the Complete Streets policy. Energy code was adopted. For this particular case, we didn't look at recycling, but there are several elements that we do, review in the permit process. Yeah.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Sutker,
Aye.
Trustee Robinson,
We're voting on,
The Plan Commission case.
Plan
To concur.
Commission.
2021-14P.
aye.
Trustee Kuhn,
Well, I do have a number of concerns about the comprehensive plan and its policies regarding environmental our goals, and then also the process in terms of how that is evaluated during the planning commission. I am voting aye on this particular issue. And for those issues that are still outstanding, it's something that I will continue to work with the trustees on to resolve that as a policy matters moving forward.
Trustee Johnson?
Please forgive me for messing with the protocol here, but I was actually going to introduce a motion to amend the special use permit. Would it be possible to?
We're in the middle. It's a little late.
I'm sorry, I meant to kind of start at the vote.
Well, the motion's out of order at this moment. We're voting on the Plan Commission case at the moment.
I understand. I didn't realize we had finished the discussion. Would it be possible for me to submit a condition for consideration for the special use?
What is it?
Essentially, I would like to propose a motion to mandate an emissions mitigation plan for this site and take Amazon's corporate sustainability goals and make them site-specific. This is my motion. It's for the board's consideration. I move that a condition be added to the special use permit, a greenhouse gas emissions mitigation plan covering this operation's full Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions, meaning the building and the delivery drivers, with timelines for 100% renewable energy by 2025 and net zero emissions by 2040, Amazon's goals. This emissions mitigation plan must be provided by the petitioner by no later than September 30th, 2021, the same due date as the petitioner's traffic signal warrant study, and the petitioner shall provide the village with annual progress reports on emissions mitigation for this operation. That is my motion.
Okay.
Point of order?
Yes.
Yeah, we're in the middle of a vote. If he wants to make
Hold
a
on.
separate
Hold
motion.
on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't see a second on the motion, so the motion fails. Okay, resume the voting, please.
Trustee Johnson?
No.
Trustee Pure Slovin? Do we erase her? Trustee Pure Slovin?
Aye.
Trustee Klein?
I also vote aye.
Mayor Van Dusen?
Aye, the motion passes.
Mr. Mayor, our final case tonight is 2021-19P, again, a special use permit. During its July 15th, 2021 meeting, the Plan Commission heard a request for a special use permit for a cremation services in an M3 industry zoning, relief from section 118 to 218 of the Skokie Village Code to provide 7 rather than 16 off-street parking spaces and any other relief discovered during the review of this case. The applicant intends to utilize the building as a crematory, which is an allowed use with a special use permit in the M3 zoning district. The crematory intends to have 2 retorts on site that will not be visible from Monticello. Funeral services and visitation would be at the applicant's funeral home in Chicago. Occasionally, some family members wish to witness the entry into the retort chamber. Staff was supportive of the request and the parking relief as long as no more than 5 non-employees will be permitted on site at any given time. Discussion with the commission included what distinguished a funeral home from a crematory, how the remains are being transported to the site and where the vehicles should be stored, air quality, filtration, and exhaust from the burning, and regularity of the inspection of the equipment, general business operations. A condition was added to the staff recommendations that the operator provide annually to the village proof of inspection of equipment. No additional relief was discovered during the review of this case. Additional analysis and discussion can be found in the staff reports and meeting minutes, again, in your possession. The vote was unanimous in favor of the request relative to all members in attendance.
motion on special use permit, Plan Commission case 2021-19P is in order. Trustee Johnson, seconded by Trustee Klein. Are there any comments or questions on this? If not, call the roll, please.
Trustee Sutker,
Aye.
Trustee Robinson,
Aye.
Trustee Kuhn,
Aye.
Trustee Johnson,
Aye.
Trustee Pure Slovin,
Aye.
Trustee Klein,
Aye. Aye.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Aye, the motion passes. Thank you. Next item is public comment. Sir, now.
All right, sorry for misunderstanding. My first question is fence. It's the second time that I'm questioning that on this meeting, board meeting. Why? Because last time it was no answer, and I talked to police people, and they told me they never asked you guys about 5 foot. They couldn't find it in a file. I talked to a sergeant, I think Johnson, chief was not there, and he couldn't find it. He said, like, if you need on paper or something, I should go to police and get it. They have no problem with 6 foot fence whatsoever. Means we gotta restart that. If that's the only issue, people want 6 foot, and my neighbor actually called city today just to tell that he has no problem with 6 foot fence. He wish that he can have 6 foot fence too. And how we can proceed on this one, what's my next step, because I would like to comply and with the permit and everything. Can I go with 6 foot fence? What I'm waiting for?
The village ordinance is 5 feet,
Okay,
and I'm not aware that there's any desire to change the ordinance. You and I talked about this. and
exactly. I talked to many of you, yes.
Well, you and I did talk.
Exactly.
And I explained that why the ordinance is what it is.
Yes,
Chief-
police, but they say no, they never
No,
asked
no.
for that.
I was here. I chaired the meeting. Chief Scarpelli told the village board that he and the department supported a 5-foot fence. Trustee Klein was chairman of the zoning board, and he can tell you as well.
All right, then.
So I'm just
Continuation,
explaining.
okay, continuation of that, I listen you, okay? Continuation is, guy chief is retired. He is no longer in the service, okay? There are new people over there, and they regret what they did, okay? Then accordingly, we should change and follow. If police the only people that they look for 5-foot fence, not you, not us, not me,
No, no.
nobody, huh?
The village board. The
Why
village
you would
board-
look for 5-foot
The
fence?
village board is the legislative assembly.
I understand that.
We enact the ordinances. Police department doesn't enact the ordinances, they can make recommendations.
Mr. Mayor, you told me you did it because of request of police, not because of you guys.
I told you it was the recommendation of the chief of police and the village board.
It's not anymore.
The village board, myself included, concurred in that recommendation.
That's a pest.
What?
That's a pest. It's pest.
Yes, it is. And
Pest,
it-
gone. They no longer require that,
Okay.
they don't want it anymore.
Okay, move on.
Okay, what's next for me, for the fence?
It is 5 feet.
On side yard.
What? What do you say, sir?
Side yards are 5 feet. If you're on an alley, you can go to 6. But only on an
How it looks like 6 foot and then 5 foot ends into the 6 foot? How that look like to you? Is that nonsense? 5 foot go to 6.
Sir, proceed.
Proceed, okay, we'll proceed. Probably we have to sue you like Wilmette did, and they got 6 foot, okay?
Okay.
Second question for Corona guy, COVID guy, again. Is it fair to ask from him that in his reports, he just talked vaccine, that he actually talked about antiviral drugs, medicines, that they successfully cured the COVID in 24 to 48 hours? There are new drugs that they just approved, XOCD-24, inhalator from Israeli people. They figured it out, doctors, and they can supply whole world demand within 2 months. Cure 100%, no side effect, 3 to 5 days, the worst cases, okay? Secondly, ivermectin, Slovakia, first country in the world, approved ivermectin instead of vaccine, okay? 24 to 48 hours, like headache, gone. Why we talking vaccine? And actually, if you want to know, he says proudly 79.4, next time will be 81, 82, then on the end, 110 people vaccinated. Actually, it's 0 people vaccinated. 0. Why? Everybody must take vaccine. All those vaccinated must take vaccine again. They did it for nothing, for fun, for no reason. We unvaccinated, we're supposed to be kind of careful when we deal with these people because of shedding, which is normal process in all vaccines, okay? The other thing what I really would like to warn all of you and inform other people, you actually didn't read Nuremberg Code for 1947. None of these people, big people in the world, do you know what's Nuremberg Code 1947? Anybody? Can you go? Yay, nay? No, huh? Nuremberg Code 1947 is world code that's still alive. Today we have to follow. Every experimental vaccine after 25 to 50 deaths must stop, shut down. Okay, every experiment, anything. After all these deaths, tens of thousands, admit, CDC, whatever, even they admitted that they amend some statistic, okay? All these deaths still going on, and you guys just talking about vaccine. When that gonna stop? Talk to antiviral drugs. Pandemic is over. Like some countries, Brazil, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, fenofibrate, what's it called, monoclonal infusion of antibodies, many things, you're talking vaccine only. Tell the guy to bring us all those statistics today that people in the internet can see all that they can educate themselves, not to die. 30 people died from, by his statistic. They shouldn't die. 24 to 48 hours, they brand new. Okay?
Thank you.
And death penalty is whoever breaks Nuremberg Code, it's a death penalty, people. Be aware, if you impose mandate on all us people, and if you forcibly vaccinate us, okay, with these drugs that they don't breaking a code, what that means, read the book, okay? And maybe law will come and check it out, okay?
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to address the village? Yes, sir.
The health commissioner, I'm sorry, I forgot. the
May
name,
we have
but-
your name, please?
Pardon me?
Your
I'm
name?
sorry, my name is George Saliba, and I'm a resident of Skokie. He did show us statistics. I'm an engineer myself. I can read many numbers in a split second. All the numbers that I saw there were just numbers, made no sense. Whenever we give statistics about anything, when he showed us the statistics for dead people, there was no breakdown of age in there. No breakdown of age. When the statistics of the infected were given, again, age was dismissed, was not there.
You are.
The age group.
No,
Yes,
you-
I'm asking for next time, whenever, it's a recommendation or question. So to be, like more trustworthy, let me put it that way, for us to come and watch numbers, we have to see true numbers. Don't give me so many deaths. How many of them are age groups? You want to break them down into 5, 10 years, spaces or segments, that's fine. That's number one. And number two, there is no breakdown also of the new cases regarding the people who have gotten the virus, which I did with my whole family. Within 1 month, we all got it. My mom is 82 years old, and she suffered the least. I'm not saying COVID is a very serious disease, but we have to look at the statistics, and the next one obviously is going to come up very soon, and people are going to start ask about under 12 vaccination. Under 12 vaccination. It is a crime against childhood. Crime. It is crime. Show me the numbers. How many deaths of children happened, not just in here, throughout the United States, that are a result directly of COVID and are respected. Give me breakdown, please, for next time, hopefully, because we're going to have more updates, correct? Break them down into age groups, and let's see how many people are carrying the disease, infected carry the disease. People who had the virus carry the disease. Children carry the disease. So why would I vaccinate if I'm going to carry the disease? And I know, based on statistics, I don't have them, unfortunately, people who are infected with the virus have better immunity against the disease than people who got the vaccine, because the vaccine is specific about certain virus strains. And it's been proven that naturally, people who got the virus, the coronavirus, have better immunity. So we have to look at all of these. I thank you people, I know you're concerned. And one final thing, if I wanna die, it's nobody's business to tell me you shouldn't die. You can advise me not to die, and I respect that. But it's up to me. Up to me only. If I wanna die because of disease, nobody can tell me you cannot die because of disease. No. Again, thank you very much.
Would you spell your last name?
Saliba, S-A-L-I-B-A.
Thank you, Mr. Saliba.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I say that because of my concern for myself, for everyone else.
Understood.
And we have the freedom in this country. We shouldn't lose it.
True. We all agree on that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
and
very
I do
much.
apologize about the first. I didn't read the paper correctly regarding the mask.
It's okay.
Thank you, John.
It's okay. Thank you very much. Trustee Sutker.
Wait, you got.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You gotta deal with me first. A couple things I want to say. The first presentation was clearly very vague, and the silly photo of the map with all the colors on it, I found that also very, very silly, very vague. And I wanted to say, Mr. James Johnson, you seemed a lot more concerned about greenhouse gases than you did about the vaccine when he asked all of you if you had any questions after he did his presentation. None of you looked up, okay? None of you asked a single question. There are very legitimate risks involved with this vaccine, and if you don't know what they are, I'll tell you. Erectile dysfunction, miscarriage, death, respiratory illness, okay, fever, very legitimate concerns that none of you seemed concerned about. That makes me concerned. Does that make sense? Okay, so yes, COVID may be a very dangerous disease, but to me, I know a lot more people that have been affected by the vaccine than they have been by COVID. And it's a shame for all of us, and it's shame on you that you have zero concern over that. Okay?
Yes.
That's my biggest point here. And when I look into your eyes, I see very lack of passion and humanity and empathy, which is very sad. And this new Delta variant that's coming out, we all know that it's an excuse for a segue into the legalization of the vaccination of children under 12. And that it's a shame and child abuse, in my opinion. Okay?
Okay.
So please consider everything that I'm saying to you right now when you go to bed tonight and you kiss your children goodnight. Please second guess your next vote. Thank you.
Would we have your name?
You know what? I don't feel comfortable giving you my
Okay.
name, Mr. Mayor.
All right. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I don't. And I'm sad that I can't trust my government and my village board. I'm
That's-
very sad that I can't.
That's fine.
And I hope that you hear the pain in my voice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Sutker.
I move we adjourn.
We are adjourned.